In this video, we will be talking about volume. Volume is the amount of space that something takes up, or the three-dimensional size of an object. For solids, volume is typically measured in cubic meters or cubic centimeters. For liquids and gases, volume is typically measured in liters or milliliters. There are a couple of different ways that we can determine volume. The first is by using a mathematical formula. In your math classes, you may have used mathematical formulas to calculate the volume of cubes or spheres or cones or cylinders and all sorts of other things. In this class, you'll be finding the volume of a rectangular prism. To do this, you multiply the length times the width times the height. Let's do an example. Say we have a rectangular prism that's 4 centimeters high, 6 centimeters long, and 2 centimeters wide. What is the volume of this block? We're going to use this formula. Volume equals length times width times height. Length equals 6 centimeters. Width equals 2 centimeters. Height equals 4 centimeters. So we have 6 centimeters times 2 centimeters times 4 centimeters. And this gives us 48, with our units being centimeters cubed, which is centimeters times centimeters times centimeters. That's how we got that number. Often, measuring a volume with a ruler isn't practical, especially if the object you're trying to measure is strangely shaped. It turns out that when an object is submerged in water, it displaces or pushes an amount of water that's equal to its volume out of the way. If we can measure the amount of water displaced, which means pushed out of the way, we can determine the volume of the object that displaced it. Here's an example. Imagine you need to find the volume of this toy dinosaur. It would be very hard to do this with a formula, so we will use water displacement. First, we'll put some water in a graduated cylinder. Then we'll measure the amount of liquid in the graduated cylinder. Make sure you take your reading at the bottom of the meniscus. That's the bottom of the dip. Also make sure your eye is level with the bottom of the meniscus. Then record the volume. What is the volume in this graduated cylinder? Pause the video and see if you can figure that out. We see that the lines on this cylinder, the markings on this cylinder, are in increments of 0.2. If we take a look at that marking where the 4 is, the line above that is 4.2, then the one above that is 4.4, then we have 4.6 and 4.8. So this is going to be 4.8 milliliters. The next thing we're going to do is put our dinosaur into the water. And we're going to measure the new volume, because as we see when we put the dinosaur in, the dinosaur displaces a volume of water equal to its mass. So our water goes up in the graduated cylinder. So let's take a look at our new volume in the cylinder. We have to move our eye up so that we see the bottom of the meniscus. And as we noticed before, each of these little tick marks is at 0.2. So we've got 5.2, 4, 6. So our volume now is 5.6 milliliters. The last thing we're going to do is take our first measurement and subtract it from the last one to figure out how much the water rose. So our volume is going to be 5.6 milliliters minus 4.8 milliliters, and that's going to give us 0.8 milliliters. That's how much the water rose, and that is the volume of our dinosaur. In summary, the volume of an object is the amount of space that the object takes up. We can determine volume by using a mathematical formula, or we can use water displacement.